Greetings, friends. Your cartoonist pal Stan here with a brand new episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in tabletop role playing games such as Dungeons and Dragons. And together with input from you, whoever is hanging out there in the live chat room, I take a who from one table and a what from another table. I mash them together and we start thinking up crazy ways. How can we interpret those things? What would be a funny way to interpret them? What would it look like? What might they be doing? What might they be saying? Is there a joke in there? All these kind of things. And I turn it into a cartoon while you're watching, while you're helping, while we're having fun together. And I encourage you to do some drawing yourself. The whole point of this, the reason I came up with this method for myself, and the reason I bring it here on the chat show, on a live stream show, is to encourage you to do drawing. Drawing is fun. Drawing is fun just for its own sake. You don't have to do it for to publish it. You don't have to show it to anyone, though. If you like what you've drawn, I highly encourage you just show people. Hey, look what I did. Put it on your Facebook feed, on your social media. Look what I drew. But you know what? You don't even have to do that. The drawing itself, the act of drawing, it's fun. Trust me on that. Hello, Michael. Mash them up. The who's and the what's and the who with who. Michael's been here. He's seen me say that a lot. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. And I got nothing else. Having said all that, I'm gonna take a little sip of my drink. I'll be doing more of that as the night goes along. And I'm going to grab my iPad Pro, which is what I do all my drawing on. iPad Pro with the app Procreate and an Apple Pencil. Not sponsored. None of this is sponsored. I just say that because that's what I use. People ask, I tell them, I want you to be able to know. How does he do that thing? That's how I do that thing. I do a great deal of my drawing on this tablet now. I still have notebooks all around me, but more often than not, if I'm going to even just do little random sketching stuff, I'll pick up the iPad and do it there. So, any more questions? No? Great, let's jump in. So if I come here, I've grabbed my iPad, I've got to now do this thing that you can't see, but I need to do it before I can show it to you. Because when I click this button, these are our encounter tables for the evening. So we'll now jump over to an electronic die roller so we can get that randomness that I was talking about. So we're going to roll the dice and roll the dice and roll the dice and tell it to stop. And we get a 3 on the white die and a 1 on the black die. Come back over here, we see that the white die is the who, the black die is the what. So that's a Mind Flayer IT help desk. Okay, all right. Mind Flayer IT help desk. That's our first drawing of the evening. So we'll turn off that and turn on. I like to do my sketching in blue, which is a throwback to my early days working in physical media. You will see a lot of cartoonists who did their sketching in non-reproductive blue because it was easier to photostat and reproduce it. The blue did not get picked up. Anyway, we got a Mind Flayer and IT help desk. All right. So, Mind Flayer, those who don't know, I'll make sure it's set to the size I want, have kind of octopoidal heads with mouths that are covered with tentacles. They grab onto your skull and they feed on your brains. So I think what I'm going to have here is two. We're going to have that guy, but this is going to be the IT guy who's come to help. Now, mind flayers have very thin bodies, long, gangly arms, and long fingers. They're creepy looking. Now, see, one of the things I do when I talk about this a fair bit, is I don't want to just draw everyone standing straight up and talking to each other. I'm giving them uh, postures and personalities. So, I want to move this so it's a little more centered. I've already got a definitely user error. That's one way. I'm thinking more like, have you tried turning him on and turning him off again? Switch that. Oh, we just maybe tried turning him off and rebooting. There we go. All right, so with those rough sketches, I'm going to go in and start drawing. So I'm going to move over to the lines layer, switch over, and I just need to figure. So we've got, go back to the sketch layer to talk about this. So we're now working in kind of three layers, right? The the human and his computer are in one layer. This guy is very close behind him. This guy is behind both of them. So I've got to think about that in when I'm ordering, which when I do the lines. I don't really, because it's digital. I can anything I draw can easily be erased. Um, but I want to get everything done as quickly and smoothly as possible. So I think I will start with the human here. I want to get that drool looking good. And then I want to get the idea of these tentacles laying on top of his head. Like so. I usually draw mind flayers with kind of inverted eyes, where it's black eyeballs and white or other colored irises. And they just traditionally wear the big kind of Dracula capes. Well, not capes, but just the half behind the head shaped. Uh, what do you call that? What do you call that thing? I might have to look that up after the show. I don't know what you call that item of clothing. If it's attached to a cloak, sure, but is it a collar? Is that just a tall collar? Maybe that is. Maybe I'm making the question too complicated. As a writer and an editor, sometimes I get into that where I want to find the right term. There's got to be a correct term for that, and in point of fact, it's just something really simple like collar. How are you in this week, Michael? Did I see you over on the Green Ronin on the Thursday today? I don't remember whether I saw you in the chat there. I think I did. You're usually there. For those who don't know, uh, the fine folks at Green Ronin have a bunch of live stream shows they do. One of them is on Thursdays earlier in the afternoon. And being a fan and friend of theirs, I like to show up and watch the show. They always do lots of interesting things. Sometimes I draw along with them. Trying to get that idea of his second arm is on the other shoulder that we can't even see. And then I'm going to have the IT nerd. I can say that because I'm a nerd too. Who has come in to help. Is there a thing I could give him? I don't know. Think of anything I can give him to make him more clearly the IT guy? And then it's a big mess here to look at it, but I'm now going to take advantage of the fact that I can work, since I'm working digitally, I can erase some of this stuff easily. I was talking before about wanting to give them interesting positions, interesting postures, but the the challenge with that is then that you need to make sure everything still lays out well, lays out correctly. I often will say that you don't have to get everything right, you just can't have it be wrong in a way that draws attention to itself. And that's part of this whole posture thing. I want it to be an interesting posture, but it needs to not draw attention to itself in a way that looks wrong. Like there, that arm is now at the wrong angle coming out of there. It's got to sync up with that in order for it to look believable. And a lot of that is practice in drawing bodies of all sorts over and over, knowing where they will, where the shoulder should come out, and but then a lot of it is just kind of you put it down where you think it's going to be, you sketch it out, and you do sketches. I do very quick light sketches here because a Medici collar. Okay, thank you for that. Apparently, that's what those big collars are called, Medici collars. All right, looking good. And then we'll put in the lettering. I have an idea in my head that I'm not finding the right words to express to you. The there's a lot of times when people look at what I do and say, "Oh, I wish I could do what you do." I wish I had this. Uh, you know, how do you do that thing? And the uh, um, the answer almost always is based on, well, I practice a lot. I have practiced a lot, and I continue to practice a lot. Practice, practice, practice. But the idea that I'm floating around in my head, the thing that my the practice helps me the most with here is making adjustments on the fly. A lot of it is, sketch. Look, I mean, if I turn off this lines layer again, look, this is like I squiggled around and this is not. I didn't have it perfect. I had a rough idea, but because that where my years of experience doodling help out is when I'm putting these lines on, I can and I see that can more quickly see that something's not going right, and more easily take that rough sketch and do an adjustment without making a fuss about it. All right, so we're going to turn off the sketch layer now. Look at these lines and say that's looking pretty good. Hello, Carrie Andrew. How are you doing? Thank you for that text you sent a little earlier. Carrie is a longtime friend of mine, and he sent me an image of a holiday card that I did. I think it's probably college era. So this is a 35, 40-year old card, but it's still pretty cute. I thought. I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, I remember doing that. I wouldn't want to show that drawing as an example of what I can do, but I love it as an example of something I did. All right, so let's go back to the colors layer. I'm going to switch to the gloaming brush, which I use here. It's somewhere in a markery, crayony style, so I can do I can do kind of quick, sloppy coloring, the kind that you could do if you had a marker or a crayon at home. I do this what I call shape within shape coloring, where I identify the the shape of this thing. The the head has. I mean, in theory, I probably should have done two different parts of the top, or I could have done. But there's a shape like this part there. That's those eyebrow ridges, and then the whole big head I'm going to treat as one big area. But at the back, it's bifurcated, so I do that, and then each of the tentacles gets its own little squidge. Basically, I'm doing one line, put my brush down, my drawing implement down for each shape, and that's giving them a little bit of extra weight, or the fact that they are separate shapes is emphasized. And that, in turn, gives the whole drawing just a little more um, subconscious feeling of texture and shape. And it's the kind of thing, as I often will point out, that you could do with crayons or pencils or whatever kind of implement you're coloring with. If you want to do this quick coloring, like I'm not filling in all of the space on anything, but the thing looks complete. It feels complete. All right, let's see what I want to do. I want to do that eyebrow. I think I want to do the same thing for our mind flayers. Give their eyebrows just a little darker color. And then I'm going to do a faux black, a dark blue, which reads as black. You want to find a way, again, to fool the viewer into thinking that they're looking at black when they're really looking at just a dark blue. Because black, the lines, if we did all the blacks as black, you wouldn't see anything. It'd just be a big blotch. There we go. See, that's actually what I just did there. A really good example of shape within a shape. The folds on the lower part of the robe that he's wearing create these three shapes across the bottom there. Right? 1 and 2 and 3. And so I'm coloring each one as their own shape, and it's giving that feeling that the robe has a little extra three-dimensionality to it. And then a little more blue for the belts. It's always nice to have a red in our Medici collar. Thank you again, Michael and Chad, for helping me learn that term. Hello, we've got Owlbear Macius. Owlbear Macius. Hi, what am I drawing? Did I do it? I'm doing it right now. Yes, we are. Welcome to the show for the first time, I'm guessing, by those questions. Yes, so as you will see, after I finish this one up, we're going to do another one. And I start with we will go and randomly roll a topic, a who and a what. And then we think up an idea and we draw it. While you watch. There we go. And I want a gray, but I want a bluish gray, a silvery gray for the computer. Slightly darker, not too much. The keyboard here, and then even darker. Then we can put on the key. Oh, even darker than that. We put on the keys. And now, what do I want to do? I want to just add that blue on the belts not coming out. I think I'm going to make them the same color as those are disappearing. So I think I'm going to make them the same color as the Medici collar. I'm loving that now that I know that term, because here's the thing. By next week, I'll probably forget it. But if I say it enough here, maybe I can commit it to memory, so I won't. Medici collar, Medici collar, Medici collar. All right, so Now, another trick to just give things give it a little extra flair for a little extra flair for impressing your friends is to put in just a little bit of shadow and take that color of an choose the important parts that you want to stress, and then take the color it is, take a darker version of it, and then on the bottom side, decide which direction you want the light to come from. I'm deciding the light is coming from the left side, moving towards the right side. So on the left side of the character, towards the bottom of each shape, and at places where two shapes meet. Just put a little bit. Don't go too crazy. A little bit of that darker color. And it creates a shadow. Now, here's the thing. If you get into drawing properly, if you study drawing and particularly realistic drawings, you'll note that my shadows very often break the rules of where shadows actually form. But that falls back to what I said earlier. It doesn't have to be right. It just has to feel, it just can't feel wrong. So just by doing that, I don't even have to add that on the robes or anything else. Maybe I'll give a little bit to our poor schnook here. To make him seem a little more three-dimensional. I'm going to have a little light blue I'm going to add to his drool. And then maybe on his skin too. Not too much. I don't want to go too dark. I want him to look pale. He's being mind controlled. There we go. And then, yeah, just a little kind of wood color for the desk. So he's not floating in the middle of nowhere. And here we have oh, I know what I also want to do. I want to like to sometimes give my monsters yellow eyes. Just makes them seem a little more inhuman. But there we go. We've got Mind Flayer IT Tech. I'm going to come back to my lines layer, switch back to my inking brush, and I'm going to put my little stand in the corner because we're done. We'll put it on the computer. Come on, back to the inking brush. Here we go. And there we go. Mind Flayer IT Tech. What was the Michael asked? What was the monster that I wanted statted in age? Um, it was the monkey fighting snake. They were talking about on the Green Ronin show today. They were talking about the TV edit version of Snakes on a Plane, which has the amazing line of Samuel Jackson saying, "I'm tired of these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday Friday plane." Because you can say that on TV, even though it makes not a lick of sense. But I'm tired of these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday Friday plane. So I said in the show that if someone statted up, if Green, it's not just so if Green Ronin has to say yes, these are the official stats, and really that's just Troy on the show. I don't need to publish the book anywhere. But Troy says, okay, these are going to be our official stats for monkey fighting snake. I'm going to do a monkey fighting snake drawing for them. Monkey fighting snake. All right, let's have another sip, and then we will reload and do it again. So now I come back and I turn this one off. Turn on group 2. Get everything all set. Turn it back on. Yeah. So we started with Mind Flayer IT Help Desk for Owlbear, who asked. All right, ready? We're going to do another one. Do another one now. Quick. Ready? We started with Mind Flayer IT Help Desk. That was a weird little time. Let's go back to the dice and do another one. So come back and roll the dice. Here we go. We're going to roll these dice. Roll the dice, roll the dice, roll the dice, roll the dice, and stop. And it is, oh, I don't like, 3 is going to be the same one we did last time. 3 and 9. When we come back, it's Mind Flayer again, but 9 is Crossing Guard. I don't want to do another Mind Flayer. You guys have a particular, I don't mind doing a Crossing Guard. What do you think? I know we got a lag here, so I'm going to have to vamp for a bit, see who wants to type something in chat. I could just, I don't know. We could switch it around, in which case it would be an owlbear during sweater weather. Sometimes we do that. With rolling d10, we sometimes will get repeats in the same show, and I don't like to draw the same creature more than once in a show. But that's when we improvise, and that's when having folks here in the chat with me who will want to put their ideas down, you can help decide what it is I'm going to draw. That's fun. That's fun. You can be part of the show from the comfort of your own home. I suppose if nothing else comes along, that's what I will do. I will switch to the owlbear sweater weather or something else. You rolled a 9. All right, so that we could have the owlbear crossing guard or the owlbear sweater weather. What do you think? Both of them sound kind of fun. But I'm going to come over here and switch that off so that I'm ready to get started. Owlbear, of course, I say of course, if you aren't familiar with it, is a D&D creature, which is just what it sounds like. It's a bear with an owl's head. Although there have been a lot of versions of it over the years, there have been a lot of different interpretations. The original one looked more like an eagle. But now, more often, we usually wind up with an owl head like this and a bear's body. Sometimes they're shown on all fours, and sometimes they're shown standing upright. I think in either case for us, they're likely to be upright. Owlbear and sweater weather. So yeah, I can erase all this now. All right, owlbear and sweater weather. That's what we got. Michael knows the power of speaking his mind because then what he wants gets drawn. I invite everyone who's watching to participate. Um, So I'm trying to think of gags aside from just the owlbear wearing the sweater, which is kind of a gag in its own right. I think that hmm, I'm thinking there's some guy whose sweater he took. Maybe it'll be an elf. Elves seem like the kind that would wear sweaters. Although uh, I'm not sure an elf's sweater would fit him so well. So maybe we need to change it so that it's not going to fit as well. It's going to come up across his body and it's going to end there. And then he'll say something like, "Yeah, a little snug, it really is comfy." No, I'm trying to find ways rather than have his. Have this posture, his hand positions, not just be closed fists. All right, that's enough. Let's do some line work. Let's get in there and draw this thing. I always say start with lines you're confident of, or that are so important they can't be moved. For me, here, that's going to be the beak. We can build the rest of the head around the beak, but It's a little tough to the challenge, or one of the challenges with an owl bear or any of these other kind of creatures that are half one thing, half another, is to find a way and uh, to make it clear that it's both. Right? This could look just like an owl. How do I keep it from looking like an owl? I've got to get some bearishness in on it. I thought that maybe ears would work. That wasn't working so good, so I stopped. Maybe the claws are enough to do it. Make sure it doesn't seem like feathers. I want to maybe somehow make it seem a little torn because of the snugness that him having put it on when it's obviously a medium-sized creature's sweater being worn by a large-sized creature. Although really, I guess owlbears are still medium. They're just a larger medium. Humanoid being worn by monstrous. What would they be called? A monstrous creature? Put a few more fur patches on there. I'm trying to decide whether I want to give him an underbelly, and I think I do. Again, I think that's going to help with the making sure it doesn't seem like an owl, but an owl bear. Now I'm thinking about what I have him saying, and I almost, I'm trying to. What I'm thinking right now is I maybe want to bring the elf into it. So the owlbear might be saying, "Is this too? Is this, does this make me look fat?" No, no, it's great. Is this too snug on me? No, it looks great. You keep it. go. Looking all right. Is this too snug on me? No, 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 not at all. Yeah, something like that. Take advantage of the fact that the app will let me easily draw uh, an ellipsis. Same thing over here. Is this too snug on me? All right, so let's turn off our sketch layer now and look at what we've got. We want to put a few little extra bits of line work in here, but basically we got what we want. Poor little elf. And then we can grab our colors. We can go back do the same thing. Gloaming brush. Quickly do our shapes. Identify our shapes. I'm gonna do that underbelly color. I'm also gonna do uh, a more lightly colored palm. That's why I left that undone. Go for a lighter tan here. And then I like to go with orange for beaks. I don't know how realistic that is, but it works. It's a cartoony good look, good color. Too dark. Sometimes, so one of the problems you sometimes will have, particularly with large eyes, is they just look too flat. And adding a little outline of a very light blue or a light gray, or depending on what colors you're lighting it with, perhaps other colors, helps to give that idea that it's rounded and has an underside, and there's some cast shadow in there. All right, and then we're gonna have to do the sweater itself. And for the sweater, I'm gonna go with a kind of a cream tan color for most of the sweater. I don't know why, but that seems about right to me. And then we're gonna have a red and a green. Sometimes I look at these things and the colors just scream out to me. That's the color it needs to be. Looking almost like a Christmas sweater at this point. You know, in a more multi-panel version of this story, he might have the owlbear saying, "Do you mind if I keep this?" The elf would wind up saying, "No, no, no, it looks great on you. It's all yours." A little lighter than that. I want the soles to not be the same color as the boots themselves. I don't know why. I just made myself laugh. I think this looks pretty funny. And again, we'll come in and do a little bit of shading on our main characters. Just to help punch up that three-dimensionality. Just a little bit here and there. Not worrying about being too accurate. I just want to help create that feeling. Create the feeling. Even the hair. There we go. I guess. If I got a little shadow under the elf, I'm going to have to get a little shadow under the owlbear too. But there we go. We've got an owlbear in sweater weather. I'm going to drop back here and put a little stand in the corner. Owlbear in sweater weather. Ba-doo, boop, ba-doo, doo. Tell you what, I think I want to put on here just a little extra to add into the idea that it's called. I'm going to take a blue gray. I'm going to erase that particular shiver. I'm going to give him just a little bit of, steam. To even more than the shivering, that's a little extra to say, yes, it's cold out here. All right, done. Done. We're going to call that done. Owlbear and sweater weather. All right, so let's put that down for a second. I'm having a pretty good day today. For those of you who may be, well, Michael knows this. I think everyone who's in the room right now knows. This was supposed to be the what I was going to do last week. Last week I had these big computer problems, which completely took me down. I was unable to come back on Thursday and do the show, so I'm doing it this week instead. Same thing. Beautiful thing about these random charts, they don't really get old. Make myself laugh. All right. So turn off round 2, turn on round 3. Get back to our brushes where I want them to be. Turn back on the encounter tables because it's time to do it one more time. Time to do it one more time. Are we ready? Are we set? I'm not. I need a drink. I say that like it's, some kind of fortifying drink. It's my Diet Coke. I need a drink. All right, we ready? We did an owlbear in sweater weather, all snug. We had before that a mind flayer at the IT help desk. Let's go to the dice and see one more time what we get, and then we'll do a third drawing. So come back over here, and we're going to roll the dice and roll the dice and roll the dice, and we get a 6 and a 10, which will give us a gargoyle with Halloween. Oh, Halloween candy is that's the one that I maybe should have pulled off. Last week was close enough to Halloween, but I don't know, even now. A gargoyle and Halloween candy. Okay. This. So I could see everyone. So far, I like to think about this. So one of the things I think about is which way the characters are all facing. So far, we've had a lot of looking this way, right? Although our IT guy and the human were there, the the IT guy was looking this way. The user and the computer guy. The although the owlbear was kind of straight on, he was also that way. I'm gonna go this way in this drawing. So the first thing I'm gonna do is create a building ledge of some sort. that we can put a gargoyle on. And I got him already. I got him with his hand out like this. I think we'll have maybe a pigeon. Giving him. Let's see. All right. So things I can already see to do is I can move this down a little on the page and over to the left a little more, and then I can bring in more pigeons. Maybe rather than dropping, so I've got the pigeon dropping a candy in there, but if we can have the pigeons carrying, basically, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about this. Flying with the bags from the clearance sale. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Michael, you and I were on the same uh, thing. You know, the dumpsters were. I'm trying to think about how to phrase it. Right. I told you, just wait a few weeks and the dumpsters will be full of them. The drugstore dumpsters. Now I guess I want to change that arm. Then this is not. All right. So things I can do for this. And our gargoyle is kind of small right now. I could. No, let me undo that. We come back here and I'm thinking. All right, if I grab just the gargoyle for a second, bring him off to the side there. I grab the pigeons. So if they're coming in like that, then I can re-grab the gargoyle and make him bigger like that. You're going to want to redo that hand again, but let's grab the pigeons again. Move the pigeons again. This is the kind of thing you can, working digitally, it's great for. So they're coming in like that. Our gargoyle can be reaching out like that. And now I can start thinking a little more about the gargoyle. Right. I want to give him a heavy brow, but I don't want him to look angry. That's a challenge with a heavy brow like that. Nope. Ooh, I hit the wrong thing. That would pick the smudge. That little finger there is a smudge tool, and I never ever use it. I would really love to take it off this screen, but it's a basic. It's a basic tool in the layout. All right. And then I guess I don't need to sketch those. Those pigeons are sketched out enough. But now, if I want to take the whole thing down just a little bit even further, because we don't need to see any way below it, we need somewhere, say, the. How to phrase this? Oh, maybe it doesn't need a caption, Michael says? Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical on that. The question the question of captioning and what you say is always about how does someone who is not here in the room react to it? Can they understand the idea? So I think we can definitely get the idea that the uh, pigeons are bringing candy to the gargoyle. I tell you, one of the ideas that's working in my head is right now the idea, as you and I both had come up with. This is after after Halloween sale candy that they pulled out of a dumpster somewhere. Um, but another thing, I'm going to add a new layer so I can sketch this and not have to worry about taking it out. Another idea might be if the gargoyle puts on a costume, but maybe even the pigeons have some kind of costume, and he's saying trick or treat. But I think that in itself goes against what I was just saying before. It's too hard to explain. So maybe you're right, Michael. Maybe we'll just do a captionless drawing here. Let's start with the gargoyle. Right, I'm on the wrong layer. I don't want to do that. That'll just make me angry. One of the things that, since he's made out of stone, I can really get some of these angles and make them extreme. The wings don't have to really be functional. He's a gargoyle. Now, however, is when I want to set the rules for where the building is. Guess we'll talk a little bit, or I will talk a little bit in a minute about getting this to feel textured like stone. Mm, Part of it is avoiding too many soft curves, like I just did there with the hand. I don't know. Oh, hello. Hello, Chris. Andrew, how are you doing tonight? I guess one of the things I could ask you guys is I could just write, you know, candy across there, or we could come up with punny candy brands. That certainly seems to be up your alley there, Mr. Andrew. Oh, you know what? I think I do want to put his wings down. I had them down at one point and then I put them up. But I think it'd be good that if not all our pigeons were in exactly the same pose. This is all right. I don't know. This is going to go down in my annals of among my favorites, but I think this is. I think it's a cute idea, and I think that it's coming together pretty good. I'm thinking about some other stuff too. Would you like some rock candy? Rock candy? All right, so I'm going to put a couple of little dots here. This is part of my making it feel like stone, and that's the texture thing. But one of the main things is I'm going to do the same thing with the colors when I choose it too, not just the black. All right, so let's turn off the sketch layer and see what we got here. Looking okay. He's all right. He's all right, this gargoyle. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, we have Mars bars and I don't know. Give me something to write on these bags. Give me something to write on the bags. I so if I pull that up, I can drop it in like a New Yorker cartoon at the bottom. Add text at the bottom like this. It's gonna be Times New Roman. It's gonna be smaller. Come back here and he will say uh, all I've got for you is rock candy. There. And then I just need to come into the inking layer and instead of having him grinning, we'll have his clear his mouth is open to say something. Suppose it would have been funny to have one of them be bats too. All right, let's color this. Let's color this and wrap it up, shall we? And come here and go to the gloaming brush. We come to a light gray. A light gray. Let's start with that for our gargoyle. Now I'll take that darker gray. I'm going to put it in. I'm not even waiting until the end because he doesn't have any other colors. This bit of shading, kind of about all we've got. So dropping it in right away. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to switch back to my inking brush and get the even darker gray. I'm going to add some more of those dots. I guess when we come back, I'm still pretty sure I want to put something in on the bags, some kind of candy name. I'm kind of counting on you guys to help me with that. Kind of like we did before, we're going to have orange for the beaks and the talons, or talons, the claws. Yeah, I think that, again, looking at this as a gag to play with more, having them dressed up in costumes would be a great play on this. There's a whole lot more we could do with this concept. But for tonight, this is where we're getting. bags say airbags. You're gonna leave me. You're gonna leave me here. We're gonna see just candy. Even I can't even do that to myself. All right, we're gonna have Snuckers. And get rid of that. Twux. And 4 Musketeer. Oh, that's so difficult we can't read that. Okay. Never mind. What else have we got? What other candies have we got? How about N and N's? So, no, I guess, you know what? N and N's. And Twux. There we go. Kit Kats. Kit Kats. Kit Kats. Kitty Cats. There we go. Now, what am I going to do here? I'm going to come back to my coloring. I'm going to get no, that's no good. They shouldn't line up like that. All right. Stagger them like this. And we create the illusion of a brick wall. I did all that on the lines layer. All right. That's all right because I wanted to fix that anyway. Take those out. We come to the coloring layer. And you know what? I'm going to create a new layer for these. Once again, same as last night. Get a spam call in the middle of my stream. I'm going to create a new layer because I'm going to want to mess around with the color. I know this is going to come out a little too strong. So I'll tell you, if you were watching last night, you may have seen that I also had a spam call in the middle, and they also left a voice message like that one just did. In the end, that voice message is just going to say, goodbye, robotic voice. I have had it up to here with the robot calls. Alright. There we go. I want to grab a little there to do that. A little darker color. And there we go. Darker color for the underside. And then, the last thing I want to do is I'm going to grab a dark blue. I'm going to create a cityscape behind them. Look at that. Suddenly it feels like a whole drawing. It's amazing what's just adding a little detail. It's kind of like when I put a shadow under someone, which gives a feeling of a floor and a setting instead of them floating in space. Now, it's like I did the whole drawing. All I got for you is rock candy. Not the best joke. I'm sorry, Chris. I gotta say it. I went with it. I did it. Not the best joke. I feel like we could have done better. But this is what we did. And again, as I often will say, this is we're just playing around here, right? It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to. We're just kind of coming up with ideas and seeing where they go. And every once in a while, we come up with a winner. You know what? I'm kind of surprised how often we do come up with something pretty good. Makes me want to push harder here sometimes when we've got something that's just kind of it's okay. But this is just for fun. Let it just be what it is. But now it's time for me to switch brushes and come onto that little cityscape there and put a stand in it. Because we have our gargoyle and Halloween candy drawing done. Done. Imagine if that call was Publishers Clearinghouse. Well, you know, the thing about Publishers Clearinghouse is even that you have to put an entry in. They don't just call you randomly. I never have, so that's not Publishers Clearinghouse. All right, let's yeah, let's just straighten it up. Come back and get ready and do an outro, and then we'll head into our pre-Thanksgiving weekend. Here we have a gargoyle and Halloween candy. We kind of struggled with this one a little, but in the end, I think we came up with something pretty good. I was just, you know what, I'm saying that now. I was just saying mean things about it before the outro, but I'm looking at, yeah, it's pretty good. All right, before that, we did Owlbear sweater season, and we started off with Mind Flayer IT help desk. And those were our cartoons for the week. That's how it went. That's what we did here on the show this week. So I want to thank everyone who dropped by. Michael and Chris and Kerry was here for a while. I know we've had a bunch of other people watching. I can see there are more people watching right now. Hello, people. We had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Hope some of you out there are drawing. That would make me so happy. Um, I guess I should start by saying that there will be no show next week. It probably comes as no surprise to most people. Next Thursday, of course, will be Thanksgiving. And I don't really. I got a lot going on between now and Thanksgiving, so I don't really have time to record something to put up. So we'll just take a week off. No show next week. But we'll be back on what would that be? The 4th of December. The 4th of December, be back for another live episode of Random Encounters. I hope you can be here to join us. Hello, Linnea. Popped in just in time. Until then, whether or not my friends in the U.S., I hope that you have a very good Thanksgiving. My friends from other places, I hope that the spirit of Thanksgiving comes to you and that you can just have a moment to pause and be thankful for all the things in your life. I know I am thankful for you folks who come and share some time with me. I really appreciate it. I also would be thankful if you'd leave a comment on Facebook. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up. I'd be even more thankful for that. So, yeah, that's what we got going on. Happy Turkey Day coming up, everyone. I will be back in a couple of weeks. Until then,